So I'd like to welcome into the podcast today, Wayne Bunce from Jonard Tools. Hi, Wayne.
Hello, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you. This is an edition of the podcast we're going to call Cabling Tools Talk. So happy to have you on for the first installment, no pun intended, of this podcast. So can you tell us a little about yourself, Wayne, about your experience in the industry and with Jonard Tools?
Sure. So I actually have a really interesting background, at least to myself anyway. My dad owned an electrical company, and I was pulling wire when I was 8 years old for his company. Yeah, he would tie a wire to my belt buckle and make me crawl through crawl spaces in mud and stuff. So I have a lot of fond memories of pulling wire. But,
it's a great visual.
Early in the 90s, we lived in Ohio, and I decided that it was too cold to pull wire for a living. So I decided to search other opportunities, and I ended up at a distributor called Hughes Peters Electronics in Ohio. And I always had a love for tools. And like I said, installing cable was one of my backgrounds, and it's a passion. So at Jonard Tools, we've done a lot of collaboration with customers and end users and coming up with products trying to make people's lives easier, coming out with tools that make their lives easier and their jobs faster. I say I've been with Jonard since 2004, but I've actually been in the industry since 1995. I started at Progress Electronics in 1995 with their the old Tone and Probe company, and then I've been in the industry ever since.
That is that's a seasoned background. And it sort of harkens back to on the first podcast, Patrick McLaughlin, the chief editor for CI&M, and I were talking about then and now in the ICT industry. And for Cabling Tools Talk, what we really want to focus on is job site challenges. I wanted to ask you about job site challenges that you've been hearing about, particularly now, but also then, the cabling industry has been, it's well over a quarter of a decade, I think, talking about, at least that's as long as cabling installation maintenance has been around. So, and then also the value proposition of certain Jonard tools. I know you had a couple of tools that you wanted to talk about. So in terms of today, in job site challenges for indoor, outdoor, fiber, copper, what are you really hearing from being in the industry?
Well, there is a transition. A lot of companies are actually going from copper to fiber. So I think the main thing that I'm actually dealing with right now is job knowledge, because these guys are coming from copper going to fiber. But copper's not going to go away in our lifetime. But it's the other challenges, obviously, that we're going to talk about is cable management, but cable installing. But like I said, there is a transition of copper techs going to fiber. So training is an issue, I think, is one of the biggest things that we're seeing. So we get a lot of questions at trade shows. People will come up and they're like, hey, I want to install fiber. Where should we start? And it's such a vague question. But,
but you do hear it, you do hear it. I mean, we get inured to the idea that, fiber everywhere, fiber everything. But, there's quite a large number of techs and contractors out there who are just moving to it. So you mentioned cable management. What else to say about that? What have you been seeing there? What kind of tools are being asked for, looked for to help make that job easier?
Yeah, so I think about a year ago, maybe it was a little bit longer, we came across a company called ACOM Tools. And I live in Vegas, and they were actually in Vegas. And I looked them up, and they developed a tool called the Cable Comb. I called the company just inquiring about it because we were interested in the product. And they just said, hey, we'd like to sell the product. It was one of a really easy conversation. But they are actually Adobe Communications. They're a contractor here in Las Vegas. And they've installed cable in a lot of the casinos and hotels in the area.
Okay.
And I consider them experts on cable management now. But anyway, they developed the cable comb.
The CCV 25?
The CCV 25 is actually developed by an installer.
I did not know that.
Yes.
How
So
about the special material that it's made from? Is it Krylar or it says in the product info that it's made from a special material that allows the cables to slide along more fluidly over the surface?
yeah, it's nylon. I think it's called nylon Zytel. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
ZYT. Yes, it is material to keep the cables from sticking to the tool. Yes.
So they developed that tool because I was reading the list of steps for all the things that tool offers, and maybe we can get a couple of photos because it comes apart and it appears to have a bunch of functionality options for ways that you can release the cables. And can you drill down into that a little for us?
Yeah, so it has two parts. It has an inner sleeve and an outer sleeve where they go together. It's kind of like one of those toys you were growing up where you put the circle in the circle hole, the round peg in the round hole. Yeah. So it has room for 25 cables, which I've been told that's the normal number of cables in a rack per row, which makes sense. So you can actually load each cable into the slot. It doesn't have exactly 25 slots, but there's room for 25 cables. So some of the slots you actually load a couple cables in, but you would load all the cables into the inner holder, and then the outer has a ring that will fit over the inner ring. And then it has a groove where you can put your hands on it, and you just pull it down the cable. So it straightens out the cables when you pull it down the cable bundle. And you would tie wrap our Velcro strap behind your pull. So you can, I'm trying to think, you can get, when you get to the end, I've done it before, all your cables kind of untwist at the end. So I always recommend people doing it before they put connectors on. Otherwise, they have to unload the tool.
Yeah.
If you don't have connectors on, you can just pull it straight through. But with that being said, this tool will do about a 1/4 inch cable, which is like Cat 5. We are developing a Cat 6A model that's going to fit about a 3/8 inch cable that's going to be released either late first quarter or second quarter of next year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because
right now this
one will do about a 1/4 inch cable. I know Cat 6A is a little bit bigger. It's a little bit snug, so it's harder to pull.
And you said this installation firm in Las Vegas invented and developed this tool. Did they like manufacture some kind of limited run for their own techs, and then?
Yeah, so it was actually interesting. What they did is they did sell it, but they weren't set up as a manufacturer or distributor, so they made it for their employees, and then they started just selling online. I know they were selling to a limited number of distributors, and they had, I think, an Amazon account at one time they were selling it through, but that really wasn't their goal. I don't think they were trying to get rich off of selling the tool. Yeah. It just happened. We found it and decided, hey, like we can market the tool, and we sell a lot of them.
Yeah. So how long has it been a part of the Jonard Tools lineup?
A little bit over a year now.
That recent. Yeah. We might have covered this for cabling installation maintenance. I should know, but I really like to cover a little plug for your company, Jonard Tools, because the product information is so presented so well on the website, and so many photos. I mean, good photos. But so I didn't mean to get us too far off the track of job site challenges and value proposition, but I know that you have another tool to talk about today, and I have to say that after we talk about the tools, we're going to move on to cabling triumph versus cabling tragedy. And I almost emailed you this morning. I wanted to swap out the cabling tragedy photo for another photo that I had, which is just a photo of a piece of drywall with like a fist hole in it, and category cable coming through, and the caption is everyone loves a good fist drop now and then. Like somehow, somebody, it doesn't say what the site was, but and I know that you have to describe to us today a tool that alleviates that happening with the hole cutter. Can you describe that for us?
Yeah, so we have an adjustable round hole cutter that will let you cut a hole from 2.2 inches to 10 inches. its primary function would be for putting in speakers or can lights. But like I said, it will go all the way down to 2 inches. So even if you're doing a light outlet on the wall or in the ceiling, it will do that as well. My experience, I can't cut a circle with the hole saw. I'm just not that talented. My holes are never round. They're odd shaped. So this tool has 2 blades that will, you actually plug this into a drill, put the drill, pull the trigger, and the blades will go around in a circle, the 2 blades, and it'll cut your hole size perfect. So like I said, whenever in the past, when I was doing speakers, you always make your hole too small. You don't want to make it too big because you don't want to leave a gap between the cover ring and the ceiling. So I would shimmy the speakers into the wall, and it was a tedious, long process. Well, this takes a minute. You just pull the trigger and it cuts your holes to the perfect size. So the part number is the AHC-10, but I do have another product coming out. I think it's actually going to be at the end of this quarter. We're going to have an adjustable hole cutter with a vacuum port put on it. So when you're in a customer's home or in a business, it will actually suck all the dirt from the dome itself, because there's it's a polyplastic. I'm trying to think what the material is. Sorry, I'm looking up. The hole cutter itself has it's like a round cover. So when you're drilling, all the debris falls down into the cover.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we're going to put the vacuum port into that cover, but it's really durable, and it also has a plastic ring around the top. So when you put it up against the ceiling, it doesn't leave a mark and it doesn't scratch the paint.
Yeah.
So yeah, but like I said, I could have used hole cutters a long time ago. We came out with this tool about 2.5, 3 years ago. And like I said, we're developing one now, getting ready to release one that has a vacuum port.
That just seems like a good product innovation to me. And I noticed in the picture, it comes with a case, and it looks, it just certainly looks intuitive the way it goes on the drill. That with the vacuum attachment, that just sounds like a great trade show demo. If we can ever get back to trade shows, I don't know if it would be at a Bixie or a CJ, probably definitely a CJ, but
yeah.
You go to that, you make
CDN?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do just about every trade show out there. We definitely do CDA, Bixie, ISC, Cable Tech Expo, ISC East and West. So yeah, we are seeing a customer base for this tool, and that's the idea for the vacuum port. Actually came from 2019 ISC West show. We had a customer come up and ask us about putting a vacuum port on the tool itself.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, like most of our ideas for tool improvements usually come from customers or techs in the field that are using it. So that's where we came up with the whole idea of putting the vacuum port on.
I didn't realize that Jonard was usually at a Cable Tech Expo. That's interesting. We've started doing a lot more with them because we're going to be doing a big fiber broadband push next year with our fiber broadband newsletter. And I guess the salespeople came back from Bixie, the Bixie Fall hybrid event that they just had this fall. And I guess there was a lot of buzz about fiber broadband in the cable installation space as it relates to Bixie. It's sort of what we started out talking about here. But well, thanks for bringing along those tools. I mean, I don't know, maybe you should have brought 2 more. I'm having fun. I'm actually having fun on a business podcast talking about Jonard Tools. But we'll move on. I wanted to welcome you to the second round of Cabling Triumph versus Cabling Tragedy, where we'll look at 2 photos and get your professional take on what there might be to say. So our first photo of Cabling Triumph, and for anyone who might be listening on audio, I will just describe it's like a masterpiece of a rack, layout. It's the camera's just going right down the line of the rack. The cables are, nicely aligned and Velcroed, and the caption is fiber runs, also coax, MPOE of a hospital. It's a sight to behold. I shared it on Twitter, and it got shared around. People had nice stuff to say. Of course, the photo comes from Reddit's subgroup for commemorating these triumphs. So, but we see a lot of these cabling photos come from a hospital in the healthcare arena. Do you do much work in that segment? You sell much into healthcare ICT?
So we do. I'm trying to qualify. So I don't call on the hospital market myself, but we do have distributors in that arena, and we do sell our products. I know for a fact that they're going to the hospital, like the hospitals and hotels and stuff like that. So yes.
Yeah. So this photo that we're looking at is those are definitely combed, well combed cables, but maybe it's provides a opportunity to move on to the second photo. We'll move on to our scene of cabling tragedy, and it's the classic spaghetti bomb hanging off the front of a rack. Now, in terms of technical implementation, I mean, we're looking at this photo of just a massive cabling, hanging off the front of a server rack. It's like the, almost like the signatory cabling disaster photo. I mean, do you see a tech getting right in there with a tool like the cable comb? And, how long would you say it would take to solve that situation using the proper tools as opposed to trying to do other things, which I know techs do? Can you talk about that a little?
I would caption this photo as, "Honey, I'll see you tomorrow." Yeah, so definitely the cable comb would be a great product for this. Even still, this is a lot of work. It baffles me when I see work like this. Yeah, this is a nightmare. I would be willing to say that a seasoned technician would probably come into this room and just start unplugging or cutting connectors off real quick and starting over. I do not know. Like I said, this would be it'd be a while, but yeah, the cable comb would definitely help. They could straighten out their racks a lot quicker. But like I said, it's spaghetti.
It is, and I like how on Reddit they note where it came from. It came from the commercial arena. So, it's I just like to sometimes sit back and envision, how things get to such a state. But I think it's because, there's just moves, adds, changes, different people working on a rack, and it is just allowed to accumulate. And any tips for, the sort of ongoing maintenance and ways to keep this sort of thing from occurring in the first place that you may have gathered?
Yeah, I can see where they have several companies coming in and doing this and not having their own crew, where people just don't care. Honestly, they just want to get the job done, plug and get out. If this was my closet and I was in charge of it, it would never look like this to begin with. But I just think that you have to think about who's coming in behind your work. So like these guys coming in, make it nicer than what they found it. Because, like if they ever have a problem and they have to trace it out, they're in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's this kind of work leads to more work. It'd be so much easier if they would comb it or lace at their cable when they're putting their cables in. Like I said, I would just think of the technician that was following me.
Right.
What kind of impression do I want to leave on that person? So yes, this is a great job for a cable comb, but it would be a long job.
Yeah, that is a great soundbite there. This kind of work leads to more work. I like that.
Yeah.
But well, thank you for humoring us with the cabling photos talk. I guess we're getting close to wrapping up. Any highlights for possible new products or new initiatives in 22 coming from Jonard Tools that you could share with us?
So we are in constant development of tools. Our claim to fame, if you've ever met the owner, Rich Gersberg, is we develop and release 2 products every month, and it's actually more than that. But we are heavily concentrated in the fiber market.
Mhm.
I think personally we have more fiber products than anyone in the world as far as cable prep, strip, clean, test. We are constantly developing products. We are constantly working with the major cable manufacturers, developing products to open up their cables. So if there's fiber technicians out there that have a cable that they can't open, they can call us, visit our website, tell us what they're doing or what they're trying to do. And a lot of times we can help them over the phone, but if we can't, they're more than welcome to send a sample of the cable into our lab, and we will come up with a process to how to open that fiber for them.
Interesting.
Yeah, that like I said, we have a series of tools called the MS series. They're mid-span fiber optic mid-spanning tools that will slit and ring.
Yeah.
We go from 1.2 up to 18 millimeter, and we're constantly developing more sizes. So like I said, it is a challenge. I get it. I've been out on fiber installs and guys just want to get the job done. And a lot of them will whip out a knife and hack away at it when there's easier ways to open up fiber. So yeah, like we're here to help though. And that's one of the things is we don't even just want to sell, we want to solve. So if people have a solution, we'll help them solve it. Or an issue, I should say.
Yeah, that's great to learn about Jonard's capabilities on the post-sale side. Didn't even know you guys had a lab. And well, Wayne Bunce, Jonard Tools, thank you very much for joining us for the first edition of Cabling Tools Talk. Really appreciate it. Maybe we can chat again someday. Thanks again and take care.
No, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.